All right, family, how are you doing this week? I hope you got some energy because we are bringing the fire this week. Listen, if this is your very first time catching our broadcast, my name is Dr. Alyssa Ferguson, and you are being encouraged to stay out of your lane and do what? Command your life's highway. All right, so this week we are going to talk all about going from brainstorming to buying a building. And the guest that we have is not only buying the building, but probably by the end of the year, she'll be buying the whole block. Seriously making big moves at RVA. She is Miss Richmond, Virginia. For those of you who know her, the Miss Kelli Lemon of the Urban Hang Suite, of like every radio station in Richmond that you can name. Radio 1 for Richmond, she is premiering on like every single show that you could imagine. And she's done so many other tremendous things. And the thing about, I always tell you guys every single week, there's 4 things that you can count on, and she's not going to be any short of bringing all of these things to us, right? So the first thing, always, stories of people who have success, as well as some of the struggles that they go through, right? I never want to bring you anything that's not realistic or not something that you can attain, because seriously, if you set your mind to do it, you can do it and that much more. All right, so the second thing that we always do, we offer actionable to-dos. Things that really put you to work. I'm not going to sit here and talk. I tell you guys all the time, I'm not a motivational speaker, but I do know that I can say some things that will encourage you, but unless you put in the work, nothing's going to get done. So that's the second thing. The third thing is we're going to always challenge you to yield to the greatness that's within you. And you can do that. We're going to try to help you along, but you can do that. You have to know that within yourself. And the fourth and final thing is to leverage, which is why it's so important to stay out of your lane, because when you're able to leverage the skills that you already have, you can attain the things that you always wanted. So those are the 4 things, and we take that from our title, Stay Out Your Lane, SOYL, because what you are doing, or you're planting that on fertile soil, and that's exactly what it is, SOYL, soil. So I know it's dope. It's okay. Y'all don't have to cheer for me right now, but what I do need you to do, I need you to go on out here and share this live. Because this is not just for me. Our stories are not for us. I don't get anything out of this per se, but to know somebody else. My goal is always to serve people. So with that, I'm going to have you guys be introduced to our phenomenal guest. Are you ready? Because she brings so much energy. I know y'all been seeing me pump it this week, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. If you are in the room, just give me a 1. I want to see where you are. Let's get a little temperature check. I see some folks. Hello. All right. Awesome. Okay. So without further ado, and thank you again for joining. Oh, and I want to make a quick note. Thank you so much for the people who were checking on me this week. I have been super, super under the weather. I'm just so glad that I'm able to be here today because, yeah, it's been a rough week. But with anything, we push through it, we get through it, we do what we have to do. So those of you who were registered for my class yesterday, the 5 essential elements to sharing your soul story, it will be next week. So if you didn't get registered for this week, you can go ahead and add on to the class for next week. It's still open, it's still available, and we're going to rock out next week. So that's for those folks. And let me bring into the room. Let me see some confetti in the room. All right. Miss Kelli
Hey!
Welcome.
Sora, first of all, those earrings, give them to me. That top, give them to me.
I owe you that at least.
I love it. You look amazing.
Thank you. And so do you. Always a pleasure to see you and have you on the show. And just to talk to you and be in your presence is always magnetic. It's inspiring. And you know that because we keynoted a few years back. Yeah. And that's when we first met. And I just felt like your story by itself is just hands down amazing.
And you remember, I wasn't open yet. I was just manifesting all of that. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to tell everybody about how. Well, I'm going to have you introduce your business because we're not that far away from Richmond, so they have to come down. I mean, it is phenomenal. I was blessed to be able to come down and get some behind the scenes before you opened up, and it was phenomenal before it even opened. So we're going to get more into your story for sure. But again, I just want to say thank you to you for taking your time out to be on the show. Talking to us from brainstorming to buying the building. What is that all about, Kelli? Tell us what's going on.
Look, hard work, passion, dedication, tears, laughter. I mean, like, if you could take every emotion and bottle it up in something, that's what entrepreneurship is about. For real. Yeah. So it's a lot going on, but I'm blessed. As I said, it's a gift and a curse at the same time.
I know it can really feel like that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because when you told your story, when I first heard it, and I've heard it several times since then, it's like I said, every time I get like a different nugget, and I'm able to pull so much. Even right now, where you're sitting is a whole nother level, right? Tell us about where you're sitting.
So, sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to get work done. And when you work for yourself and you're at home still, so you see the laundry, you see the dishes, you want to take a nap, so what we decided to do, because I do radio, I have podcasts, we had the opportunity to take a 1-bedroom apartment that was upstairs from the Urban Hang Suite, which is my social cafe, my coffee shop. And literally my business partner and I turned it into a studio/office. So not only am I just steps away from my coffee shop, but I can come up here, I can do work, but I can take my radio shows, I can take my podcast, I can do all of that stuff. So I don't know how I'm paying for it. I don't. I really don't. I really, really don't. But one thing I do know is that God only gives you what you can handle. And so
let me just get it clear. We're gonna start preaching already, because listen, I'm here for all of it.
I thought that was what you wanted.
I'm here for everything, honey.
Yeah. So we have a studio office. It's called Spin 100 FM at the Urban Hang Suite Studios. So yeah.
So dope.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
that is so awesome.
Honest, y'all are kind of getting the first peek. You're getting the first peek of it, because like we got kicked out the last 2 days, and we had a decorator come in and he just blessed the place. And so I'm just excited about the fact that I can work downstairs and work upstairs as well.
That is so awesome, because I mean, literally just a few weeks ago, you posted and I showed the picture. You were sitting in the empty office, the view's great, and just you always are so transparent about the journey. And I know for folks who are not overly familiar with you, we're going to go from the beginning to from where we are. But I just think that it's so amazing, like how you take an idea and you say, okay, watch me work.
Yeah.
I just posted, you were literally like, oh yeah, why did I quit and start, I'm going to start this bar and this. Yeah. And you're standing in your new venture right now. And so I just think that that's really awesome. And I want the folks who are watching and those who will watch on the replay to really understand like some of those key nuggets that take you from, or would take them from having a concept and actually making it something concrete. But before we get into that, I want to let people know your story, like literally how you sort of got started, what things transformed you into like sort of where you are, even with just Urban Hang Suite, and then we can take it there, because you even have an amazing podcast, and we have so much stuff to unpack with you. It's like,
So I'm a Virginia girl all day. I mean, when I say I love this state, I love this state, the good and the bad. If you're from Virginia, you know the history. I mean, like we've gone through some challenges, and recently too. I'm from Hampton, born and raised in Hampton, grew up in Yorktown. My parents decided to move me to Hanover County, which is about 20 minutes outside of Richmond, Virginia. Hanover County is predominantly white. And what I found was I lived the best of both worlds, and I got to be in Hanover, embrace that culture, but my calling was to come to Richmond. And I learned Richmond just by the streets. And when I mean streets, if you know anything about Richmond, there's major streets that connect everything in Richmond. So when I got here, I learned the major streets. And I really went from being white during the day to being Black nights and weekends, because I had to find my culture. I had to find my people. And in doing that, to be honest, I learned this city. Went off to UVA, majored in sociology, which is the study of people and why they do what they do. Landed a great job at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, in their athletic department. Was the first director of women's basketball operations for VCU, making a ton of money at 22 years old. It was ridiculous. But I wasn't happy. Good old boy network. If you know anything about athletics, when you see white men getting promoted for your ideas, you know, you kind of step back and say, is this where I'm supposed to be? Right. I worked my way through VCU, was there for 14 years while I was bartending, hosting events, and also being introduced to this radio world. When it was time for me to finally leave VCU, I had the opportunity to work for my friends at a family restaurant called Mama J's, which is a staple in Richmond. Yeah. It's a staple in Virginia. And my whole goal for Mama J's was for it not to be a Black owned restaurant. I didn't want it to be Black known. I wanted it to be good food.
You want to be known, period.
Known. Just known. Yes. And I worked real hard to build that brand. As I was building that brand, I was still on Radio 1 Richmond, and I had the opportunity to start my a podcast with my co-producer, Matt Pachilli, which is a podcast called Coffee with Strangers, where I literally go around and have coffee with people in Richmond. Yes, I love it.
I have my whole entire mug here.
Yes.
You know, my husband and I fight about this because he's like, no, I like Kelly. Give me Kelly's mug. Yeah, we are just so excited about this podcast.
Tell the boo I'm gonna send him one. Don't
we need to come one. We need to come be in the building. Because I have to come upstairs now. We have to do a whole
you definitely got, because we could do this here. But with Coffee with Strangers, it allowed me to meet a lot of people in Richmond. And I'm doing all these things. I'm networking, I'm connecting. But one of the things that I'm really finding is that although we're in this major city that's growing, we're still divided by class and race.
Okay.
We're not talking to each other. And I think that there are 4 key elements for people to drum up a random conversation with people: food, sports, arts, education. One of those 4 things, like, we could talk for days. You know what I'm saying? Like, did you hear the new this? Or did you catch this game? Or I'm studying this? Or did you eat that? You know, and you can have a conversation with someone that you've never, ever thought because of those 4 things. So because of that, when it was time for me to really think about what I was doing, and I was working for my friends, I told them, I love y'all, I love the brand, but this is a time for me to figure out really what I want to do. I was burnt out a little bit. When you can't get up in the morning to go to work, it's time to let that go. It's time to let that go. That's not where you want to be. That's not your passion. That's not your purpose. And that's literally God saying, there's something else out there for you.
Yeah.
And because I was working for my friends, it was okay for me to tell them that, and they supported that. And so in 2017, I just decided to quit everything. I'd saved up enough for me to be able to live for a year. And I literally was like, Kelly, what are you going to do next? I was talking to myself, literally.
That's what we got to do sometimes.
Yeah. And I had the opportunity to speak at Creative Mornings, which is a speaker series, a national speaker series that states that everybody is creative. And my topic was mystery. And, you know, mystery is that word like, ooh, what are you going to do? Like, what's happening? And when I finished my speech, I literally said, I don't know what's next, but I'm excited. And I said, I would love a spot that was in an urban environment, that was a hangout space, that, you know, made you feel like you were in somebody's living room, that you could get coffee or some sandwiches or something. And the person was in the audience said, do it. And I was like, what do you mean? Just do it, you know? And by the grace of God, I got a phone call that next week. And another woman in the hospitality industry, major in the hospitality industry, she owns 6 restaurants, and she has one of the number 1 restaurant in Richmond. Her name is Ginter Feather. I got to shout her out. She owns a lot of restaurants in Richmond. And she said, meet me at 3rd and Broad. And that's how the Urban Hang Suite got created.
See it right now.
3rd and Broad.
And for those of you who are not familiar, because I haven't been to Richmond but a few times, but actually I grew up in Queens, but my father used to work for Philip Morris.
Oh yeah, girl, you Richmond.
So he was in Richmond a lot. So all I always knew was the cigarette, the tall cigarette. That's in Richmond, right?
Yeah. That's it.
But Broad Street, first of all, it is like premier. This is not a little small hang suite that's like tucked away in a corner of Richmond. This is on one of the main strips, and it's literally right across, right around the corner from the convention center.
The convention center. Yeah. We're hopefully getting a new arena. The major hotels. I'm in the middle of downtown.
There. Yeah, you're right there.
Never in a million years would I have thought when I moved to Richmond, as much as I idolize this street, that I would own a business on this street. It's only by the grace of God. And let me add this, Sora, to you, is that the side of the street that I'm on. So if you know anything about the division of race, when people would shop back in the day, you had your white side and you had your black side to shop. Same stores, but there was a black and a white.
Is this the Jackson Ward?
Jackson Ward. It's called the Harlem of the South. Most of the entertainment industry came through here. Chitlin Circuit. They could only come through here. They could only stay at the Eggleston Hotel. They could only perform at the Hippodrome Theater. So again, to be on this side, my ancestors, when I came into I could feel them saying, "We got you. We got you. You're where you're supposed to be. We're gonna make sure you're good." And you feel the ancestor spirit in this building.
Wow, that is so deep. Yeah, I remember when I came that last time when I visited you, I ate in a restaurant and one of the ladies there was saying, across the street, Jackson Ward. She was kind of giving us some lay of the land and history. Yeah. I honestly had no clue. Like I said, outside of the tall cigarette, when I went occasionally with my dad, I had no clue that Richmond had so much history.
Yeah, we're the capital of the Confederacy, so we have the bad history, but 1 in 4 Black Americans have come through Richmond. And as we're celebrating 400 years of us being here, 1 in 4 of us have come through Richmond. And so again, we are done with the past. We acknowledge it. We know that is part of our history, but because we're doing so well, we're taking over. We're taking over.
Well, that's really important what you said, and we're going to come back to the 100 year or the 400 years. We're going to talk about numbers, but essentially, we are what our ancestors prayed for. And so, as we lay on these 400 years, and we think about this, I see businesses opening up all over the place. And not just minorities, but just people are being creative. They're millennials. We're the millennials, so to say. But we are really saying, and even last week when we had our guest on, Karen Q, she's even watching. Thank you for joining us, Karen. I see that people are just saying, I want to be happy. Genuinely, I want to be happy, and I want to really live out my gifts. That means I have to pivot. If God has turned me in a different direction, I need to align myself with that, and I need to walk that walk. But when you talk about 400, I want to talk about 100 because earlier this year, somebody had a 100th episode on Coffee with Strangers that was sick. Let me tell you. So, those of you who are watching or listening, when you get a chance, go to our website, stayoutyourlane.com, and scroll down to Kelli's profile, because in there we have a link to Coffee with Strangers, RVA.com, which is where you can find her podcast. But in there, she did something that was so amazing. So I don't know if you guys have seen, it was an artist, a photographer some years back who got really, really popular for doing a dual picture where it's the same person and maybe in one spot they're dressed up and the other one they're more casual, but they're in the same frame. Kelli to a whole nother level and literally interviewed herself.
I did. Hardest thing I've ever did.
Period.
Hardest thing I ever did. Imagine talking to yourself.
And everything. I said, wow.
Yeah.
So, it was creative beyond measure, but it was just so iconic for 100 episode. And hopefully when we get to our 100th episode, not if, but when we get there, we'll collaborate, do something really creative. But I thought that was phenomenal. So those of you who are watching and are listening, make sure you go back and check that out because it was really, really interesting the way she did it in a rep for RVA in Pops.
Yeah. It's crazy because we put out the call to say, who do you want to see on your 100th episode? You know, so we from everywhere from the governor to the mayor to, you know, very, very, very influential people in Richmond. But I got the most votes. Like, you know, I was like, y'all really want to hear my story. And again, credits to the co-creator, Matt Bacilli. I mean, he did that right. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I was like, and I'm looking, you know, because I'm all into the technical stuff. I said, what? They did a flawless job.
Thank you.
Flawless. Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, again, folks, I'm just urging you guys, when you get a chance, if you're in the area, to go down to Richmond, Virginia, and check out on 304 Broad Street, right?
East Broad Street.
I gotta get my Richmond.
Broad Street. If people don't know Richmond, Broad Street is long. You can go. I mean, Broad Street can take you approximately 30 minutes to travel all of Broad Street. So yeah, it's long.
Yeah, look, we better make sure. Yeah, stay on the east side.
Yeah, it's long.
Wow. Yeah, and make sure you visit there. But one of the things I wanted to definitely dig into just a little bit is because we have people on here who found themselves in the same place you found yourself a couple years back, right? Maybe about 3 years ago. And they're saying to themselves, I have an idea, you know, and I essentially want to find some steps or enact some steps so that I can get myself to fruition. Like, so I can take my actual idea and execute it. Not always just talking about it, like I said, being pom-poms and all that. Like, we can't always do that, right? Yeah. We want to actually put some things in place. Can you give us a couple of nuggets for people who are watching or listening so that they can really dig into the things that their mind, like what God has put in their heart, and how can they work towards that goal to where they can actually execute it and not talk about it?
Here's where, number one, what I found out is that I was working a 9 to 5 and then working a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? I was giving someone else my time and my energy. And then once I got off from that, then I had to find my own energy to do the things that I loved. And to me, I felt like that might be hustling backwards. You know, like when your side hustles equal your full-time job, something's got to change on that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and all of that, I said, what do I love? What are my passions? How do my passions turn into paychecks? This voice is one of them. Mm-hmm. I never knew that would pay me the way that it does. And so I had to take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. I knew that I loved to entertain people. I knew that I loved to connect people. So I really thought about the things that I could create that would pay me in those areas. Now, having parents that are of the baby boomer generation, when I told them I was leaving VCU,
freeze.
You gonna leave that good state job? You gonna leave that good state job? No, you're not. You got benefits. You got insurance. No, you're not. And I said, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy. So if I'm not happy, what is this good job doing for me? And again, if I had to be to work at 9 a.m. and I'm not showing up till 11, I'm not doing the job the service. And so
seriously, Kelli.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I
had to give you the face. Like, I was just going to say maybe 9:30.
11. And I was gone by 3. I was gone by 3 because, again, that's not where I wanted to be. My boss at the time was phenomenal and she protected me. So because I still got the job done. But again, where was my happy? Where was my fulfillment? How was I getting fueled by my job? And so that's when I knew it was time for me to leave and go on and pursue some other passions. But, you know, I think a lot of times we're scared. We're just scared to take that first step. We get in our own way of saying, we're not going to do well. We're not going to be able to pay our bills. We're not going to succeed. No one's going to take us seriously. We're not going to have the support. And the main thing that really kind of pushed me over the edges. I said to myself, and you've heard me say this before, but did you die?
Did you die? Yes, you did say that.
Am I going to die during this process? And as I started to ask myself that question, and I figured out the answer was, no, you'll be okay. And if you fail at this, and tomorrow happens, try again. Do something else the next day. And that mentality is not easy for everyone. Not everyone can take on that. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everyone.
That's real. That's real.
Can do those things. And so because I was ready, prepared, and passion driven, I was ready to say, I can step away from this good job. I can step away from this salary, health, benefits, all of the comfort that comes from working a 9-to-5, and actually see what my passions would do for me.
Wow. That's important. But see, the thing about it, what I feel people miss is a part that you mentioned. They're not prepared. You know, people say, okay, they told me to go follow my dream. We said that, but you missed the first part. It's like people, when they read the scripture, they go for the first part. You don't agree with the second part, so you're just gonna leave that part out. No, it all goes together. So if you're saying to yourself, I do want to build on this idea. I want to write this book. I want to create this urban hang suite, or I want to, whatever it is, this architecture firm, whatever it is that you want to do, you have to be prepared. Like you said, you had a whole year's worth of salary that you had saved up, or living expenses saved up before you sort of took on this next role. And you probably were saying to yourself, this is not really where I want to be. But regardless of, maybe you came in at 11, but that whole time you still had a plan, and you were executing it slowly but surely. Yes, you're going to amass your money. You're going to do this thing, and you're going to cultivate these relationships with friends who are doing the things that you want to do, building their restaurants. And so now you have that community. And I think that that's one thing, if people who are listening, if they don't take anything else away from that, is make sure that you're prepared. And that can mean a lot of different things. Like I said, for you, that meant a financial preparation, right? It also meant you getting involved with radio and doing some of the things that you like. Because now, you have these huge relationships, and you do so much more too than just the radio and the Urban Hang Suite. I know you also have some events coming up, and we can talk a little bit about how some of those things came about. But from my understanding, it was you working in radio with some folks that you kind of developed a relationship with and said, why are you in here? You need to be out there. And because of that, you started, doing these events and impacting folks who are homeless. So tell me more about that, because sometimes people think you can just get. And we talked a little bit about it last week, but in order to really get what you got coming to you, you got to give. And give. You said the right word. You give when you start, build your brand, and then you can ask for what you want and what you deserve, So because I was doing sideline broadcasting for VCU, I got introduced to Radio 1 Richmond. Because of Radio 1 Richmond, I got to host the concerts and the events of things of that nature. And then literally the demographic that I wanted to be around in a social scene, I wasn't seeing. And so me and my business partner, DJ Lonnie B, we literally said, why don't we just create the events that we want to go to? I mean, it really was that simple. We got turntables, we got speakers. Let's just post up in a random parking lot, or is there a restaurant happy hour that's struggling? How do we help you? Because we just want to throw a free party for somebody. And that's literally what happened. We started to do these free parties. And then when it was time to do the Art of Noise, which is our signature party that we do in Richmond, and we traveled to various cities to do that, it was what do we want to do? As 40-year-olds, who do we want to be around? What kind of party environment do we want to see? And we created that for ourselves. That's awesome.
My Heart and Soul Brew Fest, which is in its 4th year, the beer industry is lacking for minorities and women, especially Black women. And I'm a beer drinker. I love the fact that Richmond is the #1 craft beer industry. We have one of the number one craft beer kind of like areas in the nation. And I said, how can I introduce this audience to craft beers, local things? And so the Heart and Soul Brew Fest was manifested out of the need for us to be able to experience things that the majority population was already experiencing. You feel me? And so why are we not at these things? Why are we not present at these tables? And it was just as simple as saying, come on, you can come to this table. You can come over here. And those events are brainchilds of very small ideas.
Wow. What do they say? Be the change you want to see?
Exactly.
Exactly
and people say to us all the time, it's the wow factor to us is it's not a wow factor. These were things that were missing in a social environment in a major city of a major state. So therefore, why not? Why not make them happen?
That makes total sense. And you know what? Maybe that's what people just need to do. The folks that are listening and watching and those who will catch it is just think about, like you said, the things that make you happy, the things that you want to see. I thought it was so funny when we dropped a few of your fun facts this week. And you were like, I never want to meet the art, like music artists that I like, because you don't want them to like really be real. But I said, you know what? Kelli is full of it, honey, because she had a whole vibe with Snoop one day, and I just was cracking up. I said,
but guess what? Snoop's not one of my favorites. So let me say this. Mary and Nas are coming to Virginia Beach in a couple of weeks, and Method Man and the whole Wu-Tang Clan is coming. So Mary, Method, and Prince. Rest his soul. I never got to meet Prince. Thank God. Okay. Method Man, I've had numerous opportunities. I've literally gone the other way. Mary, wow. If she is not she's so much my best friend that I'm so afraid that if I meet her and she does not give me the same energy and she's not my best friend, what does that mean for me? With it. I had the opportunity to go to dinner with New Edition and it ruined my whole childhood. To see Ralph and Ricky and Ronnie, like right there. Yo, I left the dinner. Everybody thought I was crazy when I left this dinner, but it made them real. And when you're a fan, I mean, that's what that is. That is you're untouchable. You are, and they were real. He was right there. And I was like, no, Ralph, no, I don't want to touch you, Ralph.
Wow. That is awesome. I've never heard that before, but I mean, I can understand. I can dig it.
Yeah. And because they're human. And if they don't give you what you have dreamt about, do you still love them? Do you still want to be engaged with them? That's a hard thing. And because I'm in radio and TV, I have those opportunities to meet people. And I've just decided, I'll go the other way. I'll go the other way. Uh-oh. I hope I didn't lose.
Well, it's still showing that it's live. Hopefully you'll chime back in a second. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we were having such a good conversation and I'm still on.
I know I
can't hear you at all.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so I don't know what to do.
Let's see. It says let's see. We're doing technical. Can folks who are still watching, can you give me just a sign or something and let me know, maybe give us a heart and let me know if you can see us or hear us? Kelli, I see you again. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. You see me, hear me? Nothing? Oh, no. No, nothing? Okay, well, what we're going to do is, and hopefully she'll be able to chime back in, but every single week, guys, you know that we always make sure that we give you actionable to-dos. So this week, I was able to work with Kelli and get some actionable to-dos because as she mentioned, you want to make sure that you're aligning yourself with folks who are in your industry and who are doing the things that you want to do. So let me give you the first actionable to-do. The first one is to identify mentors in your industry
I hope I didn't. I guess I did lose you. No.
I know. I
We
can
were
hear
having
you.
such a good talk.
Hopefully you guys can still hear me and she'll be able to chime back in. But like I said, first thing we want you to do is to be able to identify mentors in your industry. Oh, are you back? Okay, she's back. Let me bring her back into the screen. Okay, awesome. We just kept rolling because that's what we do. We roll with the switches. Right. Oh no, she got so excited.
I got excited.
You know, this is my soror. For those of you, I didn't mention that. This is my beautiful soror of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Incorporated. So what we're doing, we're diving into the actionable to do. So for those of you who do not have your notebooks out, please break them out. Kelli and I decided that one of the main things that you would need to do and to take away from this to really execute and make your dreams real is to identify. I want you to write down 3 people that you consider to be mentors. And one of the things I want you to do is to be very intentional and very strategic about this, because I don't want them to be the same type of person. One can be like somebody who encourages you maybe in your family time, one in your business, one in your finances. Identify the different things that you don't have the ultimate strength in, and find mentors in those areas, and specifically one who is doing the thing that you want to do, right? Because you don't necessarily need 3 people that are telling you the same thing or varying things. You want to make it your own with that, but you want to make sure that you're getting a holistic picture of the things that you need to do to get where you're trying to go, right? Yeah. So that's your first actionable to do. Identify mentors in your industry, but with 3 different sort of focus in your life.
And let me add this.
Oh, go ahead.
Make sure that you can really, really touch these people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might see these people on social media and you cannot get to them. Make sure they're people that you can actually touch and contact.
I think that's a really, really good point, because a lot of people, they consider themselves coaches and all this stuff, and they may very well be. But sometimes you need that person to really take your hand and say, hey, I see what you're doing. I see where you're trying to go, but let me sow into you. And sometimes that means you may have to do some different things and see how you all can leverage, your skills or talents or funds or whatever it is. But make sure you're identifying people who are willing to help you and who are really interested, invested in your success.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. And then Kelli was really instrumental in this second one. And I think it's really important, and I'll let her elaborate a little bit on that. But the second actionable to do, once you've identified those 3 people, and if it's more, it's fine. But I say at least 3 mentors, to do the research, right? Do the research on these folks, because Kelli will tell you, I know that's one of her pet peeves, but folks approach her and they have like no clue who she is, what she's into, what she likes, how she can actually, if she was able to help in some way, like how, how can I help you? What do you know about me? What can I give you? Kelli, can you give us an example of two things? One, a right way to approach you, and a way that still needs some work? Because I know you've seen both. You talked about it this week a little bit. Yeah.
I wish we could find another word for can I pick your brain? Like, I really, really wish that there was another word for that, because pick your brain, that if you're going to do that to me, that means that you have your questions already outlined that you're going to ask me. Mm-hmm. I've had people recently say, I need an hour of your time so you can tell me what you did. I worked too hard to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I just give that to you, then you did nothing to get where you need to be. So, in saying that, if you're going to ask someone for advice, you have very specific, as Black women say, Pacific. You have like the ocean. You have very specific questions that you're going to ask this person. You're not wasting their time. It is very, very cutthroat. This is the things I want to ask you. Thank you. And then you can relate it back to something. When you started Coffee with Strangers and you decided to use this equipment, what equipment did you use? When you decided to open up the Urban Hang Suite, did you hire an attorney? Did you trademark? Did you go through something? Like, all of these things are questions that you can ask me, but be very specific when you're asking me these questions. The less amount of time that you can take from a person that you need help from is you'll get more valuable information from them.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And like you said, also knowing how so they can frame these questions. Not like you said, oh, I need an hour, so just tell me everything. And you're like, really? Like, I'm working on next year's stuff, and you talking about stuff I did 3 years ago. Or to figure out when I started and how I did it. I think there's so many resources available, and especially when we live in a time, in a space where social media is so like key, that just with a small amount of effort, you can really find out a lot about people, what they like to do, how they like to do it, how they like to be contacted. I mean, I've just lightly touched people through social media and say, hey, you know, I'm sorry if this is not the best way to even approach you, you know, but this is the only way I know how to make the introduction. What do you suggest are next steps? You know, even small things like that.
You started off with saying, I'm sorry. That showed your humility. That showed that you are really concerned about the fact that you may have approached them the wrong way. And that speaks volumes for your character and the fact that you really want to learn, because you're not trying to interrupt them, but you value their information and you respect them. And I think we got to start there. There are a lot of people out there that just expect you to just give it to them. Just give it. You should give this to me. Right. And you just can't do that. You just can't do that.
Right. No, it's true. And even for this this time that we spent together, I think it's been about 45 minutes, which felt like 5 because it was just conversation with my friend. And I don't think I even had Urban Hang Suite.
Hey, I love it. You got all the props.
Everything.
You got all the props.
I got everything. Listen, I got my arsenal back here. But I just want to again say thank you, and I also want to thank those who've been on, and I'm just like, oh wow, now I'm starting to see all these comments. Oh my goodness, thank you guys so much for popping in and showing love to Kelli and I today. I have really had such a great time, and I'm looking forward to coming back to Richmond. I think I'm supposed to be there next month.
Are you? You better text me.
I will get with you. So I can stop by so we can get some live footage in the new spot. Upstairs. I'm real excited. Can you give us any information about stuff you have coming up? So if people are in the area, they can do that, and then we'll wrap, because I think we did good today.
Yeah. So, would love for everybody to, if you're ever in Richmond, please come and visit. If you ever had any stereotypes or misconceptions about what Richmond, Virginia is, we're a different state and different city right now. So please come and visit us. Craft beers, art, and food is our main focus, and along with history. So please come see us. Definitely come visit the Urban Hang Suite. Check out my podcast, Coffee with Strangers. July 27th at Hardywood Craft Brewery is my 4th annual Heart and Soul Brew Fest. It focuses on soul food, urban art, and some dope music. I got DJs, bands, but it's all about our culture experiencing something different. Richmond Black Restaurant Experience is something else that I do that happens yearly in March with some other women in the city that are doing some dope things. And that literally was formed because the other restaurants have a week. Why don't our Black-owned restaurants have a week?
We need ours too.
Yeah. And if you got any money and you want to invest in property, come to Richmond. Really? We have a lot of opportunities for Black businesses, Black ownership, from residential to commercial. You can get a great piece of property in Richmond right now, or in Hanover, Chesterfield, and our surrounding counties for a great price. And so I'm a cheerleader for this city. I want this city to grow. So if you come and visit, please come by the Urban Hang Suite and say hello.
Yes, that is awesome. You see how she has so much going on. I'm really excited. And actually, I'm going to wrap with this, but when you mentioned about property and real estate, that's always another avenue. While you're building and you're trying to get yourself together. And the funny thing is, next week, we're going to have 2 gentlemen, and I'm so excited because they're brothers. And, I support everybody, but I'm really excited about them because they have, I would want to say, over 75 Airbnb units. Two guys. Yeah, and one is based in Boston. The other one is based down in like an Orlando area. And they're cousins, and they like really, really make it happen. And so I'm excited to share that next avenue of potential income for folks while they're trying to build, while they're trying to figure it out, while they're preparing themselves to make that transition and to pivot and to align. So with that, I just hope that all of you guys can join us again next week. Be sure to share this, because I know, look, I tell them every week, Y'all tried to play me last week. I got about 10 good shares, and I need about 24, 50 more shares. And look,
Speak it.
Yeah. Look, I'm calling myself podcaster to the stars. And so you are a star. You are a beautiful person inside and out. And I just thank you so, so much for your time.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So with that, we're going to close and just hope that you all have a wonderful and blessed week. And we will see you next week. Same time, same place. Take care, guys. Have a good one.